I know. Oh, anyway. I brought it. Yeah. Like it when I didn't get what I thought. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Then it's. Too long, okay. God, just say this. I love that. I just wanted to say, we look pretty, thank you. Because I got very bad. I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours. Were you a leadership? No. You know, yeah, being nervous when I have to. Nerve-wracking. Oh, I was there, yeah. Te ves bien. I know this. I know. And you're people doing your. What's up? What do you want this out? Dude, I was gonna like text or like tomorrow maybe we can have a Teams call. and then it started the weekend. Yeah.
But I'm like, that's me too, that likes to be too, so.
But for FaceTime, yeah. Because I don't know if Bola has an iPhone. I don't know if Bola has an iPhone.
Everybody does it, I'm very obvious. It's very obvious. Everybody does it.
Just checking. Yeah, this is great. Great. Look at me. We're all logged in.
No, it's so you like to take your time. I know.
Yeah.
That's also right. Competition. Oh, just. I know there's no competition. Quite early.
Yeah.
Good freshman count for
That is impressive. I'm very impressed.
It would have been us just.
Yes.
We were already talking.
Yeah.
But it would have been us just with each other talking like this. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. That's why we know like you gotta get.
I'm like, not a very guy person, but I did like down as like not being. I just know. Because I was gonna go. Yeah. I really don't. I didn't.
No,
It's
it's.
it's so exciting. It's really it's sweet. Exact one. So the question is, I know you're very perspective. So I'm sorry. All right. I know you guys got up early, that's it. Wow, which I know you got up earlier than 7.
Yeah.
I normally don't wake up till 7 in full transparency, not that it's like. Not that you care, but I actually got up really early today as well. I don't know, just feeling it. I got up at 4:30, which is crazy, very well. Yeah, right, I say that to say, I can kind of understand where you're at. All right, and on that note, on that well-rested note, just a little touch base on exam 1, which is when? Next Thursday. I apologize, I did see that there was like some residual content from last year that had a March date, which might have seemed weird to you, because that's not the date that I presented to you guys in the orientation slides, and it's not the date that was on the syllabus, so I apologize for that confusion, it has been corrected. So it's next Thursday, and it's all the content through today. Also, if you go to Canvas, it lists the breakdown, And this is the same breakdown that I actually presented to you guys during the orientation on the first day. So it talks about there's 40 multiple choice questions, and it gives you an estimated breakdown of which topics to focus on. So lots of times people are like, what should we study? I was using all of the assessment quizzes that you guys have taken. Part of why this course is so heavily weighted on those is they're great practice. So hopefully by just taking those, you have kind of solidified and practiced along the way. I know some of you are like, oh, I haven't studied at all yet for this course. But hopefully like just taking those assessments like aided in your study. So if you don't do anything else, I recommend at least reviewing those assessments. It always breaks my heart. People come in, not necessarily for this class, but any class. And they don't do as well as they'd like, and I'm like, what'd you do? And they'll be like, oh, I looked at the PowerPoint and like, oh. Can we have a like face-to-face discussion in class about also, more importantly, like re-quizzing yourself on all of the assessments, cases and homeworks. But we ran out of time. I'm like, I understand your time is limited, so that's why I recommend starting with reviewing those assessments and then working backwards and reviewing a bunch of PowerPoint slides if you have time. So I know it's opposite of what you guys normally do, but that's what I would recommend. I think the thing that people are typically most concerned about are the calculation questions from Dr. E. So I would, again, practice with the assessments that you turned in for him. The keys for all of those are posted. So the key for both enteral and parental are posted for you. Even if you got 100, go ahead and look at that key, because sometimes people did do some errors since you included all your work needing you credit. So be sure to look and see if there's any notes there and review the key. And make sure that you can still do those calculations. And then also in that section, he gave you some practice, additional practice questions. So I highly recommend that everyone do the additional practice questions. I really should just make them into a quiz and have you turn them in to ensure that you do them. However, I'm not gonna do that. Here it goes. All right. Questions on exam 1. What questions do you have? Should be fun. Next week. All right,
So just,
yes.
I'm gonna be like giving distributed.
It's not evenly distributed. It is per the number of days that it's taught. But the breakdown is posted on Canvas. Yeah. So there's more questions for internal parental nutrition, since you guys have like 3 days of that versus drug information resources. So it's based off of how many days of content are taught.
Right.
Yep. Other questions? Next Thursday. All right. On to fun things now. Drug information resources. In full disclosure, I am not a drug information pharmacy specialist. However, you guys, I think know, I see patients in a family medicine office. So they come in like they come see their doctor's office, and I see patients for one-on-one visits. And very often I'll have them bring, this is actually what happens. They see their doctor, they mention to them that they're taking all of these supplements, the doctor is overwhelmed. And they're like, I think you need to have a visit with our clinical pharmacist. So then they set up a separate visit with me, they bring all their medicines in. So while I'm not a drug information pharmacist, I get a lot of questions on supplements. And so the purpose of this is to equip you with the tools to be able to navigate that situation. Because I can assure you, when you go on to rotations, you will have lots of patients on lots of different supplements. And probably even now, if any of you guys are working in pharmacies, I feel like patients often ask more questions about supplements than they do their prescription medicines sometimes. So I always think back to when I was a little resident back in the day. And someone came and they asked about where the fenugreek is, which I have now learned is like a common food that lots of people eat. But it's also a supplement. And I was like, I have no idea what they're even talking about. Can you write that down on a piece of paper or something? Because I have never heard of them. And so the point of this course is not to teach you about every single supplement, because there's way too many. But the purpose of especially this session is to equip you with the tools so that you can look these things up. Because there's, again, no way that we can teach you all of these things. So we'll talk about how to identify reliable resources, and we'll go through 6 of these together. We'll take lots of little field trips to explore them. We will look at strengths and limitations of each of them to help you determine what would be the best resource when you are out making recommendations for patients. And then ultimately that you will be able to look up using these resources to answer drug information questions about these on safety and ethics. So the first part of class will review these slides, I'll give you this background information. Then the second part of class will actually apply to a patient case. And then at the very end, I'll have you guys kind of think of your own drug information question that you have. I know some of you have even come up to me in class and asked a couple of things. So I'm sure that you have some questions from things that people have asked you, a lot of times family members. They hear that you're in pharmacy and then all of a sudden have all these questions about supplements. So I'll have you guys research a question that you have either received or you have on your own. Alright, so we're only going to go through these 6 resources. There are definitely more resources than this, but these I think will be a good starting ground for you. Alright, so we're gonna start with the gold standard, which has had a lot of different names. So I hope that this is not confusing. In the exam questions on this, I try to put like both of the names for it. So I would say commonly people refer to this resource as natural medicine. However, in the past like year, it's been renamed, or past 2 years, it's been renamed to NatMed. Still very similar to natural medicine. So you should be able to recognize it from either name. If someone says natural medicine, this is the resource that they're referring to. If you have access to all the resources, this is the best place to start. When I'm meeting with patients in clinic, this is where I look things up with my happy students. They have over 1,000 different monographs for supplements. So this is by far the most. We'll look at how many resources other things have, but they have nowhere near 1,000. This information is subscription based, so it's for healthcare professionals. And I would say in general, typically it's only the pharmacy team that would have access to this resource. A lot of times physicians or health systems don't have access for everybody. You guys, as student pharmacists, all have access to this, which is wonderful. They do an excellent job of citing their resources. Again, we'll take a look at this. Maybe some of you guys use this for longitudinal care. Did anyone use this for answering a clinical question for long care? Surely some people did. I know people in my group must have. No. I'm seeing no hands, not a single hand.
What do you mean by longitude?
Isn't it called longitudinal care that we put together? No, you're so glad. Wow. Number, so here's the first that I had. I was like, I don't remember having any of these people on my long care. I'm like, this is a really awkward situation. Yeah, I don't remember seeing any of them. Okay. This really clears it all up for all of us. I think we're having some mutual concern. Okay, great. This used to be a P3 class, so I think I'm still like getting used to you guys. All right. Now that I'm back on track, you guys will use this probably for longitudinal care. You'll probably have long care patients that are on lots of supplements. You guys have to answer kind of a drug information type question and do a case presentation on it, and supplements work great for it. And this is a great resource to answer those questions. What's also really nice about this resource is it rates the effectiveness and safety. And we'll take a look at what that actually looks like. But it's nice that they kind of summarize the data and then give a classification for what they think is safe and effective. This is a recognized reputable source. If you were to tell your preceptor that you got this information from natural medicine, they would be like, excellent, what a great place, who taught you that? It's an excellent resource to use. These things are updated at least every year. I was actually taking a look at updates from this year to last year, and there have even been like some minor updates since last year. Unfortunately, as I said before, it is not free, but for your purposes, as a student here at Notre Dame, you have access to it through the databases that we share. All right, so here's the list of pros and cons. As you see, lots of pros, very few cons. So I won't reread any of these things. I think the best part of it is that evidence and safety ratings, and again, we'll take a look at that. Probably the biggest con is that it is a very clunky website. I don't know who programmed it, but it is not the most swift website. So let's actually take a look at it. So I have listed the link to the pharmacy databases here, and hopefully you guys all have these saved on your computer as well. So I'm gonna have you guys take a minute to actually pull up this resource and see what sort of databases they have on it and what tools. So this is the page that I hope you guys all have favorited. This is how I access natural medicine. If you're not on campus, it prompts you to log in. And then this is the interface for it. So you're looking to see what database and tools they have here. Right. What are some databases that you're seeing? Food, herbs, and supplements. Most people have gotten you.
Okay, well, that's. What's that?
All right, everyone able to get here. You have an article. But yeah, this is great. So we will search something eventually. All right, so what are some of the databases, other databases you guys are seeing out here? Sports medicine, how fun. Does anyone ever have a friend where they're like, wow, I wish I went into sports medicine?
Every once in a while I have these twinges. I don't know if I've told you guys, sometimes I'm like, maybe I should have been a physical therapist. I like being a pharmacist, but these are just some thoughts that I have. So lots of fun things here. And then what sort of tools do you see? An adverse effects tracker, effectiveness tracker, interactions. Yes, so many great and useful things. Excellent. So we'll actually practice with some of these. Okay. So I think you guys saw all of these fun, different areas that they have. So let's practice here. This is a question that actually I just got the other day. I feel like you don't really hear about the Atkins diet anymore. But I was thinking quiz on this just the other day. And I apologize, it's kind of hard to read on this orange, isn't it? But using the health and wellness database on natural medicine, what evidence is there for the Atkins diet for people with diabetes? So I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to try to navigate this on your own, and we'll look at it together too. So you'll go to the databases. Yep. There. Oh my goodness, how do I have this? All right, so hopefully we've all gotten there. So what did you guys see? What sort of evidence rating do they have for the Atkins diet for people with diabetes? Insufficient or unreliable evidence to read it, and then you can expand the details and read what it has, like the brief summary. How about for obesity? Yeah, there's a different rating, possibly effective. So it has a little bit better data for that than for diabetes specific, is what it's sharing there. And then I encourage you to always expand and read the details on it. And so this is what I was meaning by the effectiveness level. Is they always will rate this. So some of the things will have likely effective, it's just this one doesn't have a rating that high. And they use these for all of the supplements, for different diets, for different practices. So here's the level of effectiveness. So possibly effective for obesity, insufficient, or not enough evidence to rate for its use in diabetes.
And then you can always expand the details and they'll give you a little bit of a summary. And they will link you to the primary literature that they're basing this recommendation on. So that's why if you are doing a lawn care presentation next year, not this year. On the Atkins diet for your patient, for an example, you could go here. And it would point you in the right direction of some studies to look at. If you needed some primary literature to support that. Excellent. So let's use another tool on here. So that was from the databases. So if you go to the tools tab next. And go to adverse effects. And then type in alopecia. This is something that comes up often as well. Everyone always thinks that some medicine that they're taking is causing their hair loss. Sometimes it is, often it's not. Yeah. Yeah, correct. There might be some things that are both prescription and natural medicine, so you'll see some things like lithium is listed in there, but you're right, this is supplements, not all the prescription products. Yeah.
So.
You can use that as your question that you answer at the end of the time. You got a whole list of them? Yeah. Excellent. So everyone should be looking at like a whole list of medications. I got a screenshot of it. That looks like this. So you should have gone to tools and gone to adverse effects checker. Type in alopecia, and then it shows you all of the supplements that have alopecia listed as a potential side effect. This is not super helpful in the fact that it doesn't tell you what the incidence is for it for each of these products. All this is telling you is that it's listed as a potential side effect for these.
And they are all listed definitely in the negative impact, all of them.
So all of these have alopecia listed as a potential side effect. They're not they're not in order, they're just in alphabetical order, so they're not in order of like which is most likely to cause it. But if a patient was taking a whole bunch of supplements and was concerned about a particular side effect, this is how I would go about navigating whether that side effect is something that could be caused by one of the supplements that they're taking. If you want to find more information about it, so let's say in this example, we have a patient that's worried about alopecia or hair loss. And I notice that they are taking, let's say boron, for example. I'd be like, oh, it is listed. One of the supplements you're taking does have alopecia listed as a side effect. And then I would actually click into boron. And then I would go to the adverse effects section and see if there was more information on it. For some of them, it might only be listed as a side effect and there isn't any information, but some of them, it might actually give you a little bit more on like the incidence or what trials they saw this side effect in. So it can be useful. All right. This one I think is fun. So this is a common one. We talk about vitamin C in our vitamins and minerals lecture. And you guys told me, you guys just knew off the top of your head that it's often used for preventing the common cold. So let's actually look at the evidence for it. So using the vitamin C monograph, what level of effectiveness is there for using vitamin C for the common cold? So you can actually just type it in from the home screen. Or you can go to databases. Here are you? Yeah, you can go to databases and food and supplements. Yeah. 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 And then you can expand down to in water. And then above this is all right, you guys get infected this week?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So common cold, I cut it off on this screenshot. But what did you guys find as the effectiveness reading for it? Controversial, but the heading at the top was possibly effective. And so this often means that there's conflicting evidence, like there's some studies that show that it is helpful, there's some studies that show that it's not. A couple of things I want to show you guys. Is kind of, it can be a little bit difficult and tricky to navigate the website. So I just wanted to point out, you can always get to the home screen by just clicking the emblem. And then I know we went to the different databases, but you can actually always just type things here in the home screen. So I think some of you might be making it a little harder than it has to be. So we could have just typed it in like this. You have to be very patient. And the other thing I want to point out is this top part is the monograph. So similar to the monographs for prescription drugs. So you can click directly into one of these things, or you can click here where it says professional monograph. Either one will take you to the same place. What you don't want to do is click any of these things. These say commercial products. So these are just giving you information about specific commercial products, if that makes sense. So what you typically want when answering a drug information question is the actual monograph. So this is something I feel like trips students up quite a bit. So either click here, or click one of these things. I've now forgotten what we were looking at. Okay, effectiveness. So we could just click effectiveness here. And then we'll see the common cold. And you always have to expand the details to really read the full content here. And then these again are primary literature studies that they're using to support this effectiveness rating of possibly effective. Questions on this? I might give you like a screenshot from natural medicine. And you would need to be able to tell me like what the effectiveness is based off of having it here. So you certainly don't have to memorize it, but you do have to know how to navigate it. All right. Is anyone disappointed about the controversial effectiveness of vitamin C? No, some people are. All right. So here's one additional, I think this is our last one. We'll use the interaction checker. I like this one quite a bit. Probably a lot of you guys will do some sort of anticoagulation rotation, and so you might use this on that rotation. There's lots of interactions with supplements and warfarin, which is not surprising. So garlic and warfarin. So if you go to tools and go to interaction checker, you can input both garlic and warfarin and see what sort of interactions there are. We actually do that with some fun. Wow. Yeah, right. Well, but that. So you're. But now we move back to. Yeah, there ends, and you guys expand it. All right. So what sort of interaction did you guys get?
Moderate.
Yeah. A moderate interaction. So you guys will actually go over some of these specific supplements with Dr. Moody. Towards the end of the semester. She'll talk about this. And just a little tool to remember, and I think she'll probably tell it to you as well. Is that most supplements that start with the letter G interact with warfarin. So if you're ever on the NAPLEX or anything, and there's some sort of interaction question on there, it's a general rule of thumb. If a supplement starts with G, it interacts with warfarin. So we see here, it's a moderate interaction, be cautious. Raw garlic and extracts can increase the bleeding risk. So it doesn't mean that patients can't have garlic. It just means that it can potentially increase their bleeding risk. All right. Before we move on, what questions do you guys have about natural medicine? You guys all gonna remember it when you go on your API rotations? Yeah, good. How many of you guys are working in pharmacy right now? Are you getting very many questions in the pharmacy about supplements? Yeah, I always got a lot. So excellent. So you can pull this up when you're on rotation. You do have to sign in for it, but should be really helpful. They also have patient handouts. We didn't look at any of the patient handouts, but if someone wants more information about a supplement, you have a friend and family ask you about it, you can print them out, a patient handout from this resource as well. All right, on to pharmacist letter. You guys used to have a subscription to pharmacist letter, but you don't anymore. So I'm only gonna mention it briefly. Has anyone ever used pharmacist letter or heard their pharmacist talk about it? No, okay. Community pharmacies sometimes give their pharmacists all access to pharmacist letter. So when I was a community pharmacy intern like you, I actually had access to pharmacist letter. And what's nice about it is it's kind of like just a little Reader's Digest summary of different supplements. So unfortunately, it doesn't have every supplement. It's not gonna have thousands of supplements. But if there's something that's been mentioned on like Dr. Oz in the past like 6 months, chances are they'll have a little essay on it, giving you kind of the rundown of if it would be recommended or not. So I use it quite a bit. I actually pay for a subscription for it. As a pharmacist, you can get your continuing education with it as well. So I just wanted to briefly mention it. And if you guys are working in pharmacies right now, you can ask your pharmacist if they get a subscription to it or not. It's actually kind of housed by the same publisher that publishes natural medicine. So they're both subscription services through the same publisher. So they are a recognized trusted publisher, but it is a subscription fee, about $150 per year. I'm so sad that you guys don't have access to it anymore. So here's just some pros and cons to it. I think the biggest pro is just like very easy to read and gives you a really nice summary, as if you were to like ask a colleague about a supplement and get the rundown on it. But the con is that it doesn't have all of the supplements. Yes. Someone have a question about pharmacist living?
I said, I'm not going to that, it's not great.
Yeah, not free. So the two things we've talked about so far, neither one are free, both are subscription services through the same publisher. But here's our first free resource, free being that it's paid by our tax dollars. All right, so we've got the NIH resources, and they do have some really good resources. So if you don't have subscription services after you graduate, you can refer patients to these resources. So I do want to make you familiar with these, and the links to these. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to navigate their website and find the exact right spot that you're looking for. So I hyperlinked them here so that you can play around with them. You'll see compared to natural medicine, they don't have anywhere near as many. So under 300. You guys remember how much did natural medicine have? Over 1,000. So again, nowhere near as many. But still a pretty fair resource here. They also have frequently asked questions, they define terminology, so this is a really great resource if you're doing some sort of presentation on a supplement. They also have information on just health topics in general, herbs, supplements. So it is definitely a helpful resource. And NIH is something reputable that you could use and cite if you were working on like an advocacy project, for example. The NIH would be a great resource to cite for something for that. And like I said, it is free. So here's some pros and cons for it. And we'll look at what sort of information that they have on their website here in a second. So I'll have you guys look here and use this link. And it has some really great just background information on supplements. Okay, just 6 minutes to take a quick look at some of the information that it has here.
Take your. It's.
Maybe we can get someone from this row to define what a dietary supplement is based off of the NIH.
A dietary supplement is a product other than tobacco that is intended to supplement the diet, contains one or more dietary ingredients or their constituents, is intended to be taken by mouth as a pill, capsule, tablet, or liquid, is labeled on the front panel as being a dietary supplement.
Yeah, thank you. Quite a mouthful. So it's not quite a food, but it's not quite a prescription either. It's in like a class by itself. Excellent. How about someone from this row? Yeah. Did you ask if it's like a vitamin? So vitamins could be included in supplements. There are prescription vitamins too, but like the over the counter. Here. So what is a new dietary ingredient? So,
That's not so. That's.
1994. Yeah, so everything before 1994 has kind of been grandfathered into the supplement world, which is almost everything. And so they didn't have to provide any evidence to the FDA about the safety of anything before that time. All right, so how are dietary supplements different from food and drugs? You're the only person on this row.
Way regulated.
Yeah, the regulation is very different. So it's not quite regulated like food, it's definitely not regulated like prescription drugs are. So. Let's see here, that brings us to the next question. How does the FDA regulate dietary supplements? That's a good question. Okay, what claims, oh, thank you, that's a great question too. What claims can manufacturers make for dietary supplements and drugs? Say that again. Yeah, so they actually cannot, that's the list of things that they cannot do. So they can't make a claim. Oh, this says drug manufacturers, that's why it's confusing. So prescription drugs can make the claim that their product can diagnose, cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent. But these may not legally be made by dietary supplements. So a dietary supplement is not allowed to say that it can cure cancer or that it can cause weight loss or that it can prevent diabetes. These are all claims that prescription drugs can, and they should have evidence to support that. But supplements
you might see supplements make these claims, but they can be taken off the market for making these like false claims. Yes,
Question about the next.
yeah, how does the FDA regulate it?
Like, I don't know if it's like old knowledge or something, but the FDA can regulate any supplement.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing on how the FDA regulates it. So things that were already brought to market before that now I forgot the year. 1994, thank you. They didn't have to present anything to the FDA. If you do present a new ingredient to the market, you are supposed to provide the FDA with safety and efficacy data. However, you can still bring it to market before, you don't have to have like their approval, if that makes sense. So they are more on the back end, where they can request that it be removed from the market if they find that there's reports of cases of it causing harm. And they are supposed to have data on file about safety and efficacy. However, it can already be like on the market without them having to like approve it per se. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, they can send it through the market.
On the back end, they can be like, oh no, we've had cases of liver toxicity. A great example of this is like red yeast rice. I think I'm saying that in the right order. That you can find, I'm sure, on Amazon, but it actually technically has some statin in it, which is a prescription product. So they were asked by the FDA to remove it from the market because you're essentially having an over-the-counter supplement that has a prescription product in there. This happens a lot with erectile dysfunction medications too. They'll find that there's like Cialis in some sort of supplement, and then FDA will ask that they remove it from the market. But they have like limited number of people enforcing this, so you'll still see a lot of these things on the market. So it's kind of interesting. It's not that there's no FDA oversight, but it's not the same way a prescription drug's not even allowed to come to market until it gets approved.
Go to the market.
Yeah,
Face the consequences.
exactly. So it's not that it's not at all overseen by the FDA, but it's much different than a prescription product. Let's see here. What are some requirements on the label? General information, yep. Dietary facts, the ingredients. What else did they have on there? I think the serving size.
Serving size, we do large solos. Yeah, if there are.
Some things that the label shouldn't have is that it diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent anything. And then our supplements standardized. What does it say about standardization?
Serving size, just like that.
Yeah, they're not standardized. So this was part of the problem and why you'll notice a trend when you look at effectiveness for supplements. A lot of them will say insufficient evidence to rate. And that's because maybe there's like one study with a very specific product that did show benefit, but that product's not even like standardized. So while maybe like one batch did, another batch might not, like they don't have someone coming to their plant and assessing that the exact amount that they say is in each tablet is in that tablet. So it's kind of a wild west as far as standardization goes, so it makes it very difficult to compare products. So you guys will talk a little bit more about that with Dr. Moody when she talks about specific products. But I think this is a great resource, especially if patients have questions about supplements. Let me maybe show you a little, actually, what time is it? All right, let us take our break. And how much break do you normally take in this class? Do you take a full 10-minute break? Sometimes? Howard, you? Okay, we'll reconvene at 3. And we'll finish these. They're giving you a 9. Seems like so long.
I'm so gonna try. I'm so gonna try. Maybe. I swear I've said this. I'm glad to do that. That's the first thing. Well, it's something experience, but it's something else. That's exactly why. And you know, I mean, at times it's like, but he does simmer. He does a little. Very good.
We're here and leave all the rest of the. Rotation. So. Basically. And there are first. They don't know that. I think they were talking about it, I guess that part I think they did, somewhere to work, so. And then talk about it, so.
Okay. So I was just gonna show you some of the links here. Everyone's pretty much back. It's 3 o'clock. So we went through some of those terms, which are really helpful here on this website. But let's take a look at some of the other links on here too. Oops, if I can get this working here. I was just gonna kind of give you an appreciation for how much they have. So this is their whole list from the NIH and their National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. Like, so this is all they have for A's, so not very many different topics. All that they have for C's. So you can see that it's there's a pretty limited list of the main resources, so I wanted to give you an appreciation of that versus the amount of resources that there are in natural medicine. However, what's one of the pros again about this website? It's free. It's free. So that is one of the really nice things. So if you graduated and lost your subscription to natural medicine, this might be a good resource. All right, we did all of this. So on to Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic is a different type of resource. So I do want to highlight some of the things that can be useful about it and kind of give you context for when you might find this to be a helpful resource. Have any of you guys used Mayo Clinic for things before? Yeah, a lot of times if you're just Googling some sort of health related thing, Mayo Clinic will come up. Mayo Clinic is a big health system, just like Hopkins is. So Hopkins also has a lot of resources, similar to Mayo Clinic. So this is another free resource. What's nice about it is it has a wide variety of topics. So not just supplements, but it would also have information on different diets and different health practices. So we'll have a lot of kind of general health information. One thing I want to highlight about it is it's PON code certified. So has anyone ever heard of PON code before? Most of the time people have not. But this is a certification that websites can get to kind of prove that they're there with good intent to provide truthful information to the consumer and not to be trying to sell them some sort of product, basically. So this is a great certification to look for on websites to just make sure, like, is this unbiased information, or are they trying to sell me this supplement or trying to sell me on some sort of diet? So if you see at the bottom of the page that it's PON code certified, they have like a little emblem and everything. Then that's a good sign that it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is accurate on the website, but it means that they have good intent and they're not trying to sell you something. So Mayo Clinic is code certified, and we'll talk about some other resources that are too. This is intended for consumers, so very patient-friendly information. So again, it's a great place to guide patients or family members too if they have questions. And they do have some printable pages as well. Mayo Clinic is, again, kind of similar to Hopkins, like a trusted name, a trusted resource. So again, if you are working on a presentation for advocating on just general like diet, nutrition, and fall risk things, Mayo Clinic might be a great resource to use. Things are not necessarily updated super frequently. It just kind of depends on the topic. But it is a free resource. All right, so they do have a small vitamins database. So if you guys click that link, it'll take you to their database here. And it gives you a nice rundown of the different supplements. So I'll have you guys take a little field trip to what you see here for fish oil. Yeah, so if you guys will just click this link, it will take you to the screen that has the list of all the supplements that they have. So if you just search it, sometimes it will pull other information from the website, but we're specifically looking for something from
this database.
So instead of searching here, which you can search here too, it might be easier to just click it from here. So this is their complete list. They don't have very many things. But you could just click fish oil from here. And then that should take you to just this overview. It'll give you a summary of data for different indications, some take-home points, safety and side effects.
All right. What are some interactions you see that are interesting with fish oil? Orlistat, you guys just had Orlistat, right, with Dr. Bailey. So it has taking fish oil with this might decrease the absorption of the fish oil. Because Orlistat, how does that one work? It reduces the absorption of fat. So therefore, they wouldn't absorb the fish oil is a very fatty, it is a fat. So, they recommend separating them, as it says here, it says, consider taking supplements 2 hours apart to minimize this interaction. So I think this is a great illustration that just because something's a supplement doesn't mean that it doesn't have interactions, it does just like prescription medication. Alright, also, what do you guys see as far as anticoagulants? It increases bleeding risk. It doesn't start with a G, but it also increases bleeding risk. So, it's significant enough that before major procedures, patients are told to stop fish oil before procedures due to the increased risk of bleeding.
All right.
Okay, so your favorites are, I feel this is most people's favorites. Maybe I am misclassifying you all, but LexiComp seems to be a favorite of many. So LexiComp and facts and comparisons both share the same natural medicines resource. It's called Natural Products Database. So if you look up a supplement in LexiComp or you look up a supplement in facts and comparison, it'll link you to this natural product database. And it has near over 400 monographs, so quite a few more than like Mayo Clinic had or NIH had, but quite a few less than natural medicine. And I know their names are similar. So natural products database and natural medicine are 2 different resources, it's not the same. But again, if you pull up LexiComp and type in something, it'll naturally pull the things here from natural products database. So let's do a quick look at this. So black cohosh is something very widely used as a supplement. So if you want to look at LexiComp or facts and comparison, it shouldn't matter which one. And type in black cohosh. And then it will pull up the monograph. And take a look at what it says about use in pregnancy. I should see people zipping around with LexiComp since hopefully you guys use this on an almost daily basis. I remember when I graduated and I lost my subscription to LexiComp, it was such a sad day. I actually went ahead and just bought a subscription. And my student email worked and I got the student rate on my subscription, so it was a good day. It was a sad day at first, but it corrected. No. Exactly right. So the first sentence says not to use it in pregnancy and lactation, but then if you keep reading, it seems a little less clear, right? Yeah, it's kind of confusing. So this is why I think this illustrates the importance of reading the whole section. Because it is kind of maybe not as cut and dry as the first sentence says. If you keep reading about it, you'll see that it's often used to induce pregnancy by midwives. So I think it kind of depends on the purpose of using it.
Just level,
Say that again.
just level.
Induced labor, yeah. So I think that's part of the reason why it's not recommended in pregnancy is you wouldn't want to induce labor prematurely. But could be a little bit different if that's the goal is to induce labor. Yeah, and if you read further down, it will talk about how this is actually one of the most commonly used products for midwives using supplement products. So I'm not saying whether you should use it or not, this is the evidence that they have for it, what they recommend here. I would probably go to what resource and read more about it before I gave someone a recommendation. Yeah, I would double check and see what additional information they have in natural medicine. I don't know that I'd be very comfortable one way or the other making a recommendation on this. But it at least gives you a little bit of information, because I know you guys are a lot more comfortable using Lexicon and probably quicker to look things up. All right, so it is a recognized trusted publisher. And they do update these regularly. But unfortunately, it is a subscription service, which is why I shared with you the tragic story of how I lost my subscription service. All right. WebMD, how surprised are you guys to see WebMD on here? Pretty surprised. However, I think I'm going to, as soon as I can only think of the word surprise, I'm really without good words today, I'm not sure about it. Maybe you just kidding, I'm sorry. So WebMD, while it may not have a reputable reputation amongst healthcare professionals, it actually does have really good resources for dietary supplements. So I'm not giving an endorsement of WebMD for everything, but it can be a really great resource for supplements. So it's actually, this is so interesting to me, the consumer version of natural medicine, so our gold standard. So the information they have for supplements is very similar. If you look it up on here or you look it up on natural medicine, it's very similar. Which is kind of interesting. So if you look up a supplement there, it will say this copyrighted material is to Therapeutic Research Center, which is the same people that make natural medicine and pharmacist letter. And they say professional medical information on natural medicine, you can see the professional version. Interesting, right? I check every year just to make sure that they don't lose their status with them, but I checked again this year and it still is. So here, recognized trusted publisher. It actually is, because this material for supplements comes from natural medicine, but I say it with a question mark, because if you told your preceptor that you were getting information from WebMD, they would not be impressed. Nor probably would your patients. They're like, oh, I can look at WebMD myself. However, it actually does have really good information, and we'll take a look at it. Another thing, I must have breezed past it, is I believe it's also HON code certified, not me selling them selling people anything. Although I don't have that here on the slide, but I'm fairly certain that it is. Alright, so using WebMD's vitamin and supplement resource, what is the effectiveness for echinacea for a common cold? I think I have the link to it, so let's. This can get a little bit.
Again, difficult to find the right link to pull this up. Oh, I'm glad it self-populated because I was like, I do not know how to spell that. But here, if we go down to the bottom. This is where it tells us this information is coming from. It doesn't here. Are you seeing it? Yeah, okay. I feel like I did not link this in quite right. Okay. I apologize.
You do have to click into it just right to pull the resources from natural medicine. So if you're able to get to this screen here, so under vitamins and supplements, echinacea, you'll see that these are very similar to how
Natural medicine lists things if we want to look at their effectiveness. So it says it has a rating system very similar to natural medicine. So it says possibly effective for the common cold, but it doesn't have as much detail and it doesn't cite its resources to the level of detail that the professional version of natural medicine does. So I just wanted to point that out, that it does have effectiveness ratings, but just doesn't have quite the level of detail. Okay.
I didn't say grab some boards for you to write down your answers to these. Let's do a few multiple choice questions based off of this. Alright, which of the following resources would be most useful for looking up safety of artificial sweeteners? So artificial sweeteners are not supplements. So we'll have to kind of think critically here. So you're not gonna find information about them in every resource. But they are something that falls under kind of complementary and alternative medicine and nutrition type things. So out of these resources, where do you think you can find information that's not exactly a medication? You guys think you can find artificial sweetener information on Lexicon? No. Because it's not an actual prescription, nor is it a supplement. How about Mayo Clinic? Yeah, they probably have some great resources on artificial sweeteners, probably written by dietitians. So that might be a great place if you were trying to do some sort of presentation on artificial sweeteners for, let's say, advocating or your rotation. How about facts and comparison?
Like,
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to. Like, you could probably try to type in one, but I don't think anything would come up, because it's not a prescription and it's not a supplement. So the only resource here that you could actually look up something non-related would be, Mayo Clinic. How about natural medicine? You think you could look them up in natural medicine? Yeah, because they have different things on foods, diets, other complementary and alternative and integrated health things. So natural medicine would have a lot of information on chiropractic, yoga, Pilates, and like the health benefits of that. Questions on this one? Does that make sense? Okay. You hear about a new supplement that works wonders for weight loss. And you want a really down to earth, easy to read overview of this supplement. Where might you check? I actually didn't read the whole thing. What subscription-based resource would be the best place to find this down to earth overview? So is Mayo Clinic a subscription resource? No. So you might be able to find some good information on Mayo Clinic, but it's not a subscription. WebMD, also not a subscription. Natural medicine,
yes.
are you gonna find a down to earth, like really practical discussion? Are you gonna find kind of like something you have to read through, reading a whole bunch of words about? Yeah, it's gonna be kind of, I love natural medicine, and we definitely wanna look it up there. But we're not gonna find a down to earth summary on natural medicine, if that makes sense. So that's where pharmacist letter comes into play. They would give you just like a nice half-page essay telling you the pros and cons of the supplement. Again, you guys don't have access to it, so I won't belabor the point, but that would be a wonderful resource to use in that situation. Yes.
So why didn't we like, this pharmaceutical letter for the first one as well?
Oh, yeah, why did we not? I know, I just skipped over it, didn't I? Because that, a pharmacist letter would only have information on supplements and prescriptions. They wouldn't have anything on like the Atkins diet or acupuncture. They're specifically geared for prescriptions and supplements. Similar to, like, you wouldn't look those things up on Lexicon either. Yeah, for this one would be pharmacist letter. This one? Wait, have we gotten to this one? No,
First,
the artificial sweetener one?
yeah.
Mayo Clinic. Yeah, sorry. And I'm gonna post this slide set that has the answers to them. Alright, let's see here, where were we? Okay, we did that one. Alright, you have no access to subscription-based resources. You've graduated, you've lost all your access. It's a very sad day. Did we skip one? Well, we'll go back to it after we do this. I'm already committed to this. But a patient would like a handout on a common herbal product. What resource could you give? NIH, yeah, that would be a great resource. It's free, they have patient handouts, and you don't need a subscription. Alright, we'll go back. Did we not do this one? We hear about a new supplement that works miracles. We didn't do this.
Yeah, that was last week.
Then, but you said I skipped one. This one? Wow, okay. You have access to all the resources. Where would the best place be to look up efficacy and safety for a natural herb to answer a prescriber's question? Natural medicine, absolutely. It's a reputable source. They would have an efficacy rating and a safety rating. And they would cite the primary literature that supports those ratings. All right, is that all of them? No. All right, which resource is the consumer version of natural medicine? For supplements. WebMD. Strong, right? Strong. Okay. You are asked to do a product on benefits and risk of acupuncture for your acurotation. What resource would be the best place to start? And would provide you with information on specific studies and evidence ratings. It is natural medicine. So you could definitely look up studies in PubMed. And that is a fine thing to do. But it's not gonna give you, PubMed is not gonna give you an evidence rating on something. It's just gonna give you a bunch of primary literature articles that you have to sift through. So if I were doing this, I would go and look up acupuncture on natural medicine and then see what studies they cite. And then I would pull up those studies on PubMed, is what I would. Because they've already done the work for you, so that you don't have to sift through PubMed to find your resources. All right, what information would be best to share with the calling about CAN? Resources. LexiComp's natural medicine database contains over 1,000 monographs. Is that true or false? False. They have how many? Like 400, which is pretty good compared to the others, but nowhere near as much as natural medicine. WebMD and Mayo Clinic are HAN code certified. This is true. So both of them are. And what does HAN code certified mean? Yeah, their intent is to help the consumer and provide accurate health information, not to sell them some sort of product or service. Pharmacist letter has a discussion on nearly all supplements and alternative medicines. No, they only have a handful of them. And NIH has over 400 supplements consumer fact sheets. Now we pulled them up and they have like, not very many, yeah. So the answer to this one was B. I think this is the last one, right? Great. Okay.
So for the last part of class, I want us to apply this to a case that would be very similar to if you had a patient on rotation or even a family member asking you about something. So, bless my heart. So if you go onto Canvas, I'm trying to go there now, but having some difficulty. There is a case. So a guided case that you guys can pull up. And I'll pull it up here too. Using the PPCP process. So I want you guys to take a look at this and use natural medicine to try to formulate a recommendation for this patient. So I'll give you guys about 15 minutes or so to work on this because you want time to end this, 15 minutes will be fine. All right, so work on it either in small groups or independently. This is ultimately what we're trying to do with using these resources. So really putting it all together. And I'll be walking you around, so if you have questions, I can help address those.
Not very cool. Which means that. Do I get the? I guess, but it doesn't say anything about.
Yeah. I read it wrong, huh? Well, I mainly.
Yeah, no, we did. Put something out there, we said second. So you would definitely want to check for allergies. You would want to run. Interaction. In the family history, that would be a problem. So many things.
It's safe. Yes. So.
You want to put on, yes. Did recommend. You're looking at exactly. Okay. And that, I mean, these are all the great things that you want to do. I just, it's not.
So.
You guys have a night, right? Yeah.
Up there. Only.
So it's.
So if you go up to your actions.
So probably.
Breast cancer is one. And anorexia, no, overall, there's really no. It says like research suggests that. However, studies suggest. And like, hold on, it's why- Well, it's a weekend, it's not necessary.
Yeah. Take some money. It's complex. It is, are you chocolate? It is complex, this is not easy.
All right. So I know we only have 7 minutes in class left. And do want to make sure that we have time to debrief this a little bit. All right. So I saw when walking around that people were using lots of different resources. What do you think would probably be the best resource to use for this case? Natural medicine, because you have access to it right now. And you're gonna wanna go through the whole kind of assessment process. So in the case, it says a patient's coming to your community pharmacy. They wanna know what your recommendation would be on black cohosh for hot flash symptoms. And you have her medications, you have her allergies, you have past medical history and family history. So the first thing that I would do would be to jump onto natural medicine and take a look at what they have there. So I would go, oh my goodness, okay. I would click here. I don't know how to spell cohosh right now. I now hope that that's somewhat right. All right, I'm not going to click down here on these tempting commercial products because we want the professional monograph. And probably it doesn't matter what order, we can look at safety first or efficacy first. I might take a quick look at effectiveness first, just to see, is this product even going to be helpful for her symptoms? So what did she want to use it for? Hot flashes. So what did you guys see for hot flashes? Yeah, it says possibly effective. So we definitely need to read more. It says that it seems to modestly improve some of the physical symptoms, but unclear if it improves the mood-related symptoms. And then we'll want to expand the details and read a little bit more. So it looks like from like a quick look here that it kind of depends. And here it actually says the most consistent evidence is with this very specific formulation. So if I did recommend that she take it, I would probably recommend this specific product to her since that has the best data. All right, so I'm thinking, okay, possibly effective. So it doesn't have fantastic data that it would be helpful, but there is some data. And specifically, this formulation seems to be the best. So if she really did want to try it, this is what I would recommend. The next thing I would do is look at safety. So what do you see that it's rated as? Possibly safe. So I want to read a little bit more to see like why it's rated that way. So looks like there's been studies up to 6 months. There are some concerns for liver damage. It says until more is known, they recommend monitoring for liver function. They do say possibly unsafe for pregnancy and lactation. I didn't give you the age of this patient, but if she's trying to use it for menopause symptoms, I'm probably not super concerned that she's pregnant or lactating. Although it couldn't hurt to just verify, I suppose. All right. What are some common adverse effects that they listed? Breast tenderness, dizziness, GI upset. So I would jot those down and counsel her about those as well. Is there anything else in here that might be an issue with the past medical history or family history? Yeah, so we saw that she's got a family history of breast cancer. And so there are some concerns about that here. Although if we read the whole thing, it says, however, evidence suggests that regular use is not associated with an increased risk. So it's kind of confusing. Like on one hand, it kind of makes it sound like this is not a great idea for someone that has this breast cancer risk, but on the other end, so a little bit unclear. So the next thing I would do, or what's the next thing that you guys did? What's another safety thing you looked at? Drug interactions. So that would be the next thing. I would go to tools and interaction checker, and I would put in all of her medications. What did you guys find for interactions with her meds? There was a moderate interaction with the cortisone, but when you read that interaction, what did it actually say? I think if you expanded it, it was like,
Maybe increased risk for elevated blood infections.
and it was like based off of one case report or something. That's not really instilling a bunch of concern in me. Just being on atorvastatin can raise your liver function, so it might not have had anything to do with the black coat. All right, so I've kind of compiled, so then I would take this information and make my recommendation to the patient. I'm normally not gonna say like, yes, you should, or no, you shouldn't. What I'm gonna do is provide her with the information that we looked at. So I'd be like, yeah, there's some evidence that it could potentially help with the symptoms, not very robust evidence. Some studies show that it does help, some studies show that it doesn't. The best evidence is with such and such specific product at such and such a dose. As far as safety concerns, there are some concerns that it might not be, that it's possibly safe. There are some reports of liver damage, so it's recommended to monitor liver function if you're on this medicine. And then I would also list some common side effects you might experience are this. I would also say, I ran a drug interaction with your medicines. While there is an interaction with the atorvastatin, it's a pretty minimal interaction, so I would be safe or comfortable with you taking it with your current medicines. And then ultimately what I recommend patients is to decide for themselves if they want to take it, and if they do, to actually monitor if they notice an improvement in symptoms. If you don't notice any improvement after several weeks of taking it, then I'd recommend stopping it. So it's not necessarily clear cuts, and I know we are out of time. So I will post the key, which has all of that written out as well. And have a good rest of your afternoon. Thanks, guys.